morning, everybody. We are ready to go. We got something fun today. Woohoo! All right, let's do it. Okay, so I promised today. Oops, and I forgot to put the title on Instagram. I promised today that I was going to teach you how to understand the law in 5 minutes. What do you think? That's pretty crazy. And believe me, this is the law for legal systems all over the world, not just in the West. This is the foundation principles that all of us as humans really feel are important, and feel it's a moral violation when these things are transgressed, when these things are violated. So our legal systems all around the world incorporate these, but do they really? Right? This is the question. Because when they base their foundation on something other than these principles, that leaves them wide open to allowing violations by people in power. Now, that is, when you understand what these principles are, you'll begin to see how they underlie our whole code of what we think is right and wrong, but also how they're violated all the time by our governments, by pretty much everybody. And I think a big part of that is because they're not clear. And once we get really crystal clear on them, well, then they can't hide their violations anymore. That's how I see it. All right? So let's take a look. Make sure you can let me know if you see this or not. Hey, everybody out in Instagram land. Okay, let me know if you guys can see this or not. I know it's a little bit small, but I will read to you what's on it, okay? So that should help. Now, this is where it goes. We talked about in the first few videos, so remember to go and watch the previous 4 videos because I outlined the principles that this relies on, okay? But very simply, it begins with the concept that I, as a human, as a conscious being, that I have a property right in my body. I own my body is my property. Therefore, any violations of my body are crimes, right? And we have these crimes, things like murder, assault, rape. These are all violations of our property right in our body. Without this right, there wouldn't be any real foundational reason for why these things are wrong. Next, what are violations of our creations? Violations of our creations, so if I own my body, I also own everything my body does, right? And it creates. So I own like my inventions, the artwork I create, the services I provide. Violations of these creations are things like theft, right? Someone steals my property. Slander. If I have a reputation that I have worked hard, that has value. It doesn't have to be something physical. It can be something intangible, not necessarily something physical. As long as it has value to me, it's my property, right? So a reputation helps me get work. It helps me get clients, right? So if someone goes and lies about me and tells lies about me and destroys my reputation, that's a violation of my property. And in the law, we call that slander, right? Intellectual property infringement, that's stealing my ideas. So that all the things that fall into violations of our creations fall under this ring, all right? The next ring is the deal. Once I own something, I have the right to contract. That means I've got the right to exchange it for something else I want. I've got the right to make a deal. Now, there are 5 elements to a good deal, which I'm not going to go into in this. You can watch the video on the deal, okay? But if I violate any one of those, I'm also in effect stealing, right? So what are things that are violations of the deal? Things like fraud, right? If I lie about the value, I lie about the terms, if I lie about what's happening, this is fraud. Blackmail. This is when I use undue pressure. Hi, Mike. Hey there. Hey, Jomas. Undue pressure to pressure somebody to get them to do something they wouldn't otherwise do. That's blackmail, right? That violates one of the elements of the deal. Breach of contract, right? So all of these things violate the deal, which we talked about in the previous video. And the final layer is the effect. This is when we do something and we don't maybe have direct control of all the outcome of it, but we have contributed to it. Okay, so this layer of the effect is ones that we have lawsuits about all the time, tort lawsuits, etc. Right, and this is basically things like product liability. Big one, inciting violence. Okay, so yeah, today is Inauguration Day, and guess what, right? There's this whole thing about, was Trump or other people like that responsible for inciting the rioters, inciting violence, okay? In this case, I don't know that he directly went out and said it, but if, for instance, a leader of a company sends his people to war, right? So is he responsible for those deaths? Okay, not just the soldiers who actually went and shot up villages, but the person who sent them out there. Okay. What about if, he's telling me my graphic is still mirrored on Instagram. Hey, Lexar. Oops, I did try to hit the mirror thing, so hopefully you can see it clearly. But if you can't see it clearly on Instagram, it should be the right direction if you watch the video on YouTube. Okay, so the final one is this, inciting violence. So if a world leader or a guru or a religious leader or whatever tells his followers to go and assassinate somebody, to go kill somebody, okay, knowing that his followers are likely going to follow this, they're going to obey this, all right? It's not just like some, random person in the street saying, go kill my grandmother, right? It's somebody who is in a position of authority, who is listened to. And if he tells his followers to go kill somebody, okay, the person who actually pulls the trigger and assassinates them, he's definitely responsible, right, for that violation of that other person's body or property. But how much is the leader who told him to do it also responsible? Okay, that is this ring. That deals with things in this ring. Government is fraud. Yeah. Okay, good. Mike says the video it looks right on YouTube. Great. Okay. So I apologize if you're on Instagram watching this and it's flipped the wrong way around, then go check it out on YouTube. My YouTube thing is also I Own Me, so same as my Instagram handle, and you'll see it there. You'll be able to see it more clearly. But the brilliant thing about this, if I say so myself, is that this encapsulates all of what we consider the moral law into a single diagram. Now, you think of the law as so complicated, and it is, because people have made it really complicated, right? But foundationally, if you look all over the world, thank you Lexar for the hearts. If you look all over the world, every country has laws that codify these principles. These things are crime in every country. That's fascinating. If you think about how different all of our legal systems are, but yet this is the foundation for all of them. So we can understand the law through this incredibly simple diagram. Violations against the body, things like murder, assault, rape, violations against our creations, things like theft, slander, intellectual property infringement, violations of our deals, fraud, blackmail, breach of contract, and violations of the effect. Things like inciting violence, environmental degradation, product liability. If I create a product that I know can harm somebody and I don't do my best to make sure that it's not harmful, right? Before I sell it, and I knew that there was a likelihood that it was going to harm people, how responsible am I for doing that and putting that out into the world? You see? So that is the law in a nutshell. That's it. And when you think about everything else that we consider the law, right? You have to understand there's different levels of the law, right? So, you're right. So there's negative law isn't complex, and the law of nature. That's right. That's right, Mike. So there's different levels of the law. This is the foundation of what we consider moral, and it goes beyond the law. It's underneath the law. It's the foundation that the law was built on, okay? But what happened when people created the actual statutes, right? The actual regulations is they didn't make this clear, so that they could twist those regulations to their own advantage. Now, all the other parts of the law that don't involve a violation of this type, right? Those are things that I call parental, it's basically paternalism. So it's when they say, okay, well, I'm going to make this, I'm going to act like your parent. I'm going to act like you don't know what you're talking about and you don't know how to take care of yourself. So I'm going to make all of these regulations to protect you, to protect my social system, to protect the people in power, right? That's what all of the other types of regulations are about. They're not about any kind of violation of something that we as a species consider moral. They're just a violation of what society has, or the people in power have decided is the way that they want society to run. Smooth running of society, the protection of special interest groups, other things like that. So everything that doesn't fit into this category belongs in that other category, right? And those are not moral things. Those are just, things that we sit and we say, okay, well, do we really think that this is, that this is necessary or not for us right now? See? So that's it. That's the law in a nutshell. And now you can go tell everybody that you understand the law. You understand the law better than law professors, better than pretty much anybody out there. Just by watching that one simple video, it's been broken down into its absolute core principles. And now when you go out into the world, watch and see how many principles are out there, how these things are being violated, even if your government is violating these principles, right? So there's all kinds of law out there, but a lot of the law, the foundations of what we consider the moral law, is going to be based in a violation of one of those 4 rings. The rest is, in my view, kind of up for grabs, where, we as a society just kind of say, well, we think this, we think we want to do it this way or that way, right? This is what works best for us. But fundamentally, the violations of these types of things, all of us just as humans feel that they are wrong, right? That's why we consider slavery, murder, rape, theft. We all consider these things wrong. And it's because that goes to something deeper in all of us that is not based on the law. It's based on our sense of right and wrong, based on the violation of our bodies or of the things that we have worked for. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for coming on. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so Mike brings up things like the commercial law or the 10 Commandments, okay? If you even look and go through the 10 Commandments, you're going to see that it's all about this type of stuff, okay? So when they say don't commit adultery, right? That wasn't actually about single people having sex outside of marriage. It was, marriage was a contract. It was a contract for property and for offspring, all right? It was a contract, and committing adultery was a violation of that contract, okay? When the law says, obviously, don't murder, right? But there was another one, don't bear false witness, right? False witness wasn't just, thank you, Lexar. Bearing false witness meant to testify to something that wasn't true in a court of law. That is bearing false witness. Now, if you were in a court of law, you were fighting over what? Property. You were fighting over property. So if somebody went and lied in a court of law, they were going to make you lose your property. That was going to be theft, a violation of your property. So when you actually look at most of the 10 Commandments, they also all fall under these rings, these categories. Anyway, that is a quick breakdown of the law for you today. Go out and feel like you're way smarter, because you are. All right. You guys have a great day. Bye, Lexar. Bye, everybody.